What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the JPDL. Welcome back to the channel. And I was racking my head. I was thinking, what should the last video be before we embark on this new journey in the 2025-2026 fantasy season for our league? I was like, should we do a full season preview? Should we do power rankings for a final time? But then I was thinking, as we move to the future, maybe the best way to start this season is to remember our past. And more specifically, remember our champions. We are going into year 9 of the league, so we have 8 champions, and I thought it would be a good idea to rank them. Now, obviously, these are all champions in their own right, and they all were the best team in the year that they competed. So we are ranking amongst the best. So there shouldn't be any hurt feelings about people falling lower on the list. But yeah, and before we get into this video, just ask that you please hit the subscribe button if you do enjoy the content. We do this out of love. I think we enjoy, and we're trying to promote positivity in the fantasy space, and we would love to grow our army. We enjoy all 58 of you that are subscribed, and maybe I'll be 580 one day. One can only dream. But yeah, so I didn't really have too much of a criteria when it came to ranking these. It was mostly, obviously, I've been around, I've seen all these teams, and it was my vibe of going into these matchups and how I felt, how hopeless I felt, how confident I felt in my own championship team versus the other teams. And then there will be some other factors that are involved. So let's hop into it. All 8 champions of the JPDL, the greatest teams in the league's history. Starting off at number 8, we have the 2022 Hurdlers. Owner Nick Mills won this championship. Now, realistically, they would fall somewhere in the middle of this list, probably in the 5 or 6 range if we were just grading them on their own merit. But look, the Damar Hamlin situation has to factor in here. Some would say they deserve an asterisk to this. For those of you that don't know, Will and Mills, the eventual champion, went into Monday Night Football in a close contest. I think Mills would have pulled it out, but obviously that Bills-Bengals Monday Night Football game, Damar Hamlin has to be carted off. The football game gets canceled. As commissioner, it was the hardest decision I had to make. We ended up replaying the championship the next week in week 18, where Mills had, I think, a 60-point advantage or something like that. We tried to prorate it based on his implied probability of winning in week 17 and transferring that over to a whole week in week 18. It was a whole clown show. There really, I feel like commissioners across the country were in the crosshairs there. There really wasn't a best way to do it. But yeah, I think this stains that ring for sure. If the Damar Hamlin thing never happened and he had won, he would have fallen higher on this list. But you look at the team, 9-5 is an okay record. He got the bye week, a close game in the semifinals, and then what would have been a really close game in the finals in most likelihood. Good team. You got Mahomes. He had the huge season out of Cooper Kupp before he got injured. He had Devontae Adams. I don't know, Kirk Cousins at Superflex, Amari Cooper was his best flex. It's an okay team, but nothing crazy. So yeah, they've fallen at the 8th spot. Moving on to the other asterisk championship, 2020. Clown show season, COVID season. Some would say Gil deserves a ring pop for this one. I would never be someone to proclaim that. I think he did end up winning it. But you guys look at the record, 8-5 record, won by 7 in the quarterfinals. I think he's the only champion who did not get a bye week. So 7-point, then a 1-point win in the semifinals. He did finally get together in the finals, but this was not the best team in 2020. I don't think anyone would say that. It might not have been a top 3 team in 2020. So a little bit of a hot run down the stretch. You look at the team. Yeah, Josh Allen was great. Sony Michel and Myles Gaskin. Now, Myles Gaskin, if you guys don't remember, he put up 40-something in the semifinals. And the rest of the team looks really good. A really good core of wide receivers there. Tyreek, Julio, DK, CeeDee Lamb, Darren Waller back when he was a beast. So I'm not going to say it was a bad team. The running back room was pretty weak. Although I think Sony Michel had a good season that year. But, when we're talking about 2020, which there were Wednesday football games. There were people on COVID week in and week out. No one really had a consistent roster. And then you look at the closeness of his matchups in the playoffs. There was no domination until the finals. And again, Will lost that finals again. So yeah, I think 7 is pretty fair. He probably deserved the 8 spot, but Gail, I'll give you this one. I'll put you in at 7. All right, myself, my championship ring here. 2023 Mystics, real special team in my heart. My team changed a lot through the year. I would say out of every championship team, mine had the most trades on it. Probably 20 something trades throughout the season. At one point, I had Saquon. At one point, I had a million different players on this team. But this was the final product when we got to the end of the season. Josh Allen and Justin Fields was my MVP. Forever, he'll be in my heart. He scored the most points for me in the semifinals and the finals. And then pairing him with Josh Allen, obviously, I had the best quarterback room in the league at that time. I had a really good running back group, led by Jahmyr Gibbs as a rookie, led by Devon Achane as a rookie. So, we were doing the youth movement. Cooper Kupp was kind of the fill-in. Justin Jefferson balled out. You guys see Tanner Hudson there. So I had TJ Hawkinson for most of the season before he got his knee absolutely destroyed against the Lions. So it was past the trade deadline, and it sucked because TJ Hawkinson was my push all the chips in move. I traded like a first round pick and a couple young assets for him, and then he got hurt like right away, right after the trade deadline. So that was kind of brutal, but it didn't end up costing me. I will say, Travis Etienne finished as a top 5 running back this year. He's the dark horse guy who really kept it together. I think I had him the entire year, so he was one of the few guys, along with Justin Fields, who stuck around. So yeah, you guys could see 9-5. I got the bye week, and then really sweat free in the postseason. We had our boys ready to play, and I look fondly on that Mystics team, and we're trying to climb up that mountaintop again. So hopefully that this is not the only ring I have in my possession over the next few years. But let's move on to number 5. So this is our first champion, the Boston Baller brand, James Ball. Man, this was a scary team to face back in the day. So this was before Superflex. This is when we were just a regular old keeper league. The way our keeper league worked is that you kept the player for the round that you drafted them. So, for example, if you drafted Ezekiel Elliott in the 5th round, you kept Ezekiel Elliott as a 5th round keeper next year. We did 2 keepers, I believe, and then no limit stats. So whatever, you could keep your 1st round pick year after year. This team was insane, and they weren't only insane in 2017. They were insane for like 3 years there. I'm surprised he never got a 2nd ring out of them. But yeah, you guys look, Dak. That was Dak's rookie year. Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey as a rookie who went ham. Odell was a baller back then. Greg Olsen, Todd Gurley, dude. Kareem Hunt on the Chiefs. Like, that foursome of running backs was, you just weren't gonna touch them. Now, a funny story about the championship. This is Will again. This is so far. Will, not only did Will go, damn. Not only is Will 0-3 in finals, but he lost to 3 of the 4 worst champions on paper. Like, he wasn't even losing to juggernauts. Will, that's tough, man. But that funny thing about that championship is that Alshon Jeffrey was on Monday Night Football and actually put up 0 for James Ball. So if Will had picked up 3 or 4 more points throughout the week, that would have been the worst beat of all time. The worst one. And I will say, for Will's perspective, Devontae Freeman fumbled, Dez Bryant fumbled. I think his quarterback threw 2 picks like late on in Sunday, which gave James Ball back the lead. So pretty bad beat there. I guess that's the only thing staining this legacy, is just the closeness to the championship game, but absolutely insane team for the Baller brand. Moving on to the top half now, we have last year's champion, the 2024 Juicers. Ethan Bigby is the owner. This team was absolutely insane, and the fact that they're only 4th on this list just speaks to the fact that the teams above them, because they had pretty much a perfect roster. Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, Burrow had an insane year last year, throwing to Jamar Chase, so he had that stack. Cooper Kupp, Evan Ingram, I don't know. Devontae Adams really turned on in the stretch, and then you have Saquon and you have Bijan. So really, like, he had the four best players in fantasy, really. Like Lamar, Burrow, Jamar, and Saquon down the stretch is pretty much who you wanted. Um, 11-3 gets the bye, puts up 185 in the semis and then 149 in the finals. I don't really have a bad thing to say about any of these top four teams. This team, we knew he was going to win by the trade deadline. It was really like Ethan versus the league at that point, and Ethan came out on top, just like Thanos. Just like pick your supervillain who come through in the end. But yeah, really insane team. Got historic performances. Probably one of the funnest teams to watch. Like if you were going to do a rating a fantasy team on watchability, this team was so fun to watch. I mean, just having that stack, getting to watch Saquon run for 300 yards each week, Lamar, probably the most watchable fantasy player there is these days. So yeah, I mean, gross team. All right, top three. So this is the 2018 Hurdlers. I lost this championship. uh Man, it's tough to talk about this one. 11-2 speaks for itself. Really good regular season record. Beats Atlanta and then beats myself. I have this one top three because of who he beat in the playoffs. I would say objectively, myself, Ethan, and Mills are the top three teams in the league's history. And, so the fact that Mills went through both of us to win the championship was a big deal for his legacy. And he's been holding on to that legacy ever since. This team, I feel like it's so funny looking back at these older rosters because he had Big Ben at quarterback. He had Alvin Kamara. When he beat me, that Saints Steelers game, which I've watched 100 times, I'll probably watch it again before the season starts tomorrow night. But yeah, he had Big Ben and Alvin Kamara, and I had Juju Smith-Schuster and Drew Brees. So it's a 2v2, and I got outscored by 40. So that was the end. I remember I just went and rode my bike for like 25 minutes alone to a park, and then I just sat out in the December Virginia winter for at least an hour. Didn't even bring my phone. I just sat on the swing set, wasn't even swinging, just sat on the swing set contemplating life, contemplating why this means so much to me. And, those mental scar tissues never heal. They just make us better. It's really hard for me to talk about this team. Obviously, he had a good team. He had Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs. Yeah, we get it. We get it. It was a good team. All right, let's move to the top two. This team. So I lost to Mark in the semifinals. Really close game, man. God damn it. That was another championship that I could have had. But 12-2 regular season, finishes the year 14-2. This team, dude, I mean, first of all, I feel like a lot of these players came out of nowhere this year. Like, Deontay Johnson had a top five finish. Jefferson, I believe, was a rookie, and came out of nowhere, obviously. Cooper Kupp and Debo were like two top five wide receivers. Antonio Gibson finished as a top 12 running back, and then Swift was pretty good. This team, dude, I have them number two because like I remember going into that semifinals and I remember feeling utterly hopeless. Now, I'm pretty sure I started Tyler Huntley in this playoff game. If my recollection serves me correctly, but either way, this was honestly as hopeless as I've ever felt in the playoffs. And the fact I only lost by 5 points when I don't think my team was anywhere near this was I'll take that as a bonnet in my cap. But yeah, I mean, anytime you have four top 10 wide receivers and the tight end one and a top 12 running back and a top five quarterback, that's how you go 14-2. This was an absolutely loaded roster. I would say Mark's roster this year is comparable. It's kind of built similarly. I maybe before the offseason it was built similarly, and now he's kind of come around to being a little more running back heavy. But yeah, I mean, this was really close to a perfect roster for that season. But let's go to the definition of a perfect roster. The 2019 Atlanta Juicers were the best team I've ever seen in fantasy football, and it happened because Nick Mills made the worst fucking trade in fantasy football history, bar none. You remember how I talked about our keeper system? So Alvin Kamara was a fifth round keeper, prime Alvin Kamara, because Will drafted him as a rookie in the fifth round. I cannot emphasize how untradeable of an asset Alvin Kamara as a fifth round keeper was. He was probably like worth eight first round picks in Dynasty. And Mills gave him up for some animal crackers and Kelsey. He gave away Kelsey and Kamara. I don't even remember who he got back. I think it was like Dallas Goedert and like a couple pieces. Like he did the whole like trade two superstars for like six mid players, like Adam Thielen and shit like that. And I'll put up some of the text on the screen, but that was the darkest day in the JPDL history. That's the only time that I've actually seriously contemplated vetoing a trade. Um, and it turned into this. It turned into scoring 206 points in the semis. I don't even think we were playing Superflex yet. So that's 206 points without Superflex and 174 in the finals. Look at that roster, dude. Like, Prime Mahomes throwing to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So you have a double stack. You have Alvin Kamara finished as running back one. Zeke finished as like running back three. You had Julio. You had Michael Thomas, who was wide receiver one. And then you had Mark Ingram on the 2019 Ravens, where he scored 20 touchdowns. I I don't think you could have made this team better. It was I don't know how he didn't go undefeated. We've never had an undefeated team. Well, I guess he probably went winless or undefeated after that Mills trade. So congrats to that. But yeah, I mean, once that trade went through, it was like a max exodus of contenders. Everyone was trading for future picks. Everyone was trading for keepers. Like people gave up. Not only did Ethan improve to the best team in the league, but he improved by so much that everyone else gave up. So not only did he get better, but everyone else got worse, and the gap was like so big. Yeah, nothing really more to say. Just and it's poetic that he ended up beating Mills in the semifinals. Good job, Mills. Thanks for that. So yeah, that will do it. That is our 8 champions in the JPDL. We'll see if champion number 9 where they'll fall on the list. Will they crack the top 3? Will they fall a little bit lower? I don't know. And that's the greatness. We don't know. We don't know anything. We just get to sit back and let it unfold in front of us. So super excited for the NFL season. Let me know what the best fantasy team you guys have ever seen is. Who's the best champion in your guys' league history? But yeah, once again, hit the subscribe button and we'll start getting into in-season content, going over weekly previews, weekly recaps, and all that good stuff. So hope you're following along. Yeah, I'll see y'all.